It's telling me to change the password now. I think I'm going to access it with Yorning.
Tajjeb.
Okay.
Ma before when I was clicking on internet, it was giving me error 503.
Li għamlet li l-istess provajt naċċessaħħa mill-browser tax-xogħol. Ma rridx tidħol imbagħad dħalt bil-mobile u daħlet.
Istra.
Xerbi minn fejn qalat.
53 jew mhux 503, 53 jew xem qegħdin. Mela. Okay.
All right.
This one. That was one. Yes.
Welcome to Virginia City. 53.
Continue. Login. Mela. Design. Let's coursework. Coursework brings us here. So, mela. Let's see, mela. Issa mek irridu. Xemek ta' what are the reactions? Tada. X'tada. Eyes for Mac. Mela. So can I have a head count of what OSs am I facing for the assignment? Here, close, dep, contents, and the demo. Windows, okay.
Għandek xi statistics fuq kif morna fl-eżami sera li jista' jkun?
Ħennejt għalikom.
Vera?
Because usually Linux option, that will be a challenge, Alexandru. No, seriously, if you have a Linux platform, we'll have to see how it works. Possibly I'll give you the source code. I don't think I have a way to actually export to Linux. Actually, I have to find out where on earth is my AD. I'll try to wait. Senna, I will qualify what I meant with. Okay, I have it here. What I meant with Haneta Likom, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, as usually they would ask me, so can you give us some numbers, people? And I would give them something like 6, 21, 12, small numbers.
Interessanti.
As that, and I would try to make them the same amount as the students. And everyone thinking sort of, oops, would it badly? But then they would be that like 6 was the number of students who took the exam, number of scripts. 21 is how many marks were lost by the highest grade. 12, how many questions were in the paper. So, to be honest, I didn't have time to do that, I think. I had to do like 21, how many? I had to come up with 21 numbers, which, and to explain, justify 21 numbers would have been a bit of a challenge. Mela, so 6 o'clock. My PC is late, sorry, so it's just now 6. In the meantime, I'll get the attendance over. So Sandra here, Brigitte is here, Carmen, I heard him, Floyd is here, Gary is here, Kevin not yet, Glenn is here, Jamie is here, Kenneth, yes, Luca I saw him down there, Maria and Nigel. So basically we're only missing Kevin. Okay. Okay. Mela, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. All right. So what's the plan for the evening? So I have a small set of slides that I want to cover, which hopefully will make you understand more and appreciate more the way the assignment is set up and what we are after it will also sort of fit the process into a well-established process. I will try to convince you even further that if you are doing a digital experience, you should give audio design much more importance than it is usually given. And we can also see a few examples. I will give you some links for some examples of how mood can be changed by the use of music. On stand, turn the screen on. Okay. So screen share coming up. So you can see the good old Herbie running off. So I see 7 have reacted to my post. Those who haven't, I'd like to know what I'm up against. So I'd like to see a like if you're going to use Windows as an OS for the assignment, an eyes for a Mac, or something else if you have another OS. I don't know. We'll see how that will work out accordingly. Okay. So, looking at... so, the slides we'll be looking at are these. Well, we haven't seen yet. They are the audio design fundamentals, which has some 4 learning outcomes that we want to look at. Meanwhile, I have updated the coursework description because I hadn't realized it wasn't there. There is a Google Drive folder that I have made available. You might want to have it download while we're talking. Basically, it's a Google Drive folder. Please access it with your St. Martin's account. Otherwise, I will get an avalanche of requests for access from bogus Gmail accounts, which I would not recognize, possibly. This folder has a potentially working version for Mac. We have to try it out if anyone needs Mac. And within the Windows folder, there are a 32-bit version, a 64-bit version, a couple of zip files, one for the demo and one for HypoStub. I might use this later on. And 8 videos of myself explaining how this thing works. Right, so there's the installation, how to run the demo, and then bit by bit levels of music, asset list file, navigation, sound sources, sound barriers, and troubleshooting. Hopefully, I will have some time within this session to actually give you a demonstration. And in 2 weeks' time, when we have the other tutorial, by then, I hope that you will have downloaded and ran the software. So I want that session to first iron out any problems you might have getting the software running. All right. If you manage to run the demo, then my conscience is at peace. If it doesn't work in the rest of the stuff, then I know it's something that you have done wrong. And we can tackle that. If anyone actually tries to start working with it, it would be great, because if you come across problems, we could actually tackle them, okay, and help everyone out in dealing with the software. It's a software which has at least 25, 30 hours of work in it from my end. A couple of years ago, I had actually tried to give it some more functionality, but that's still in the unstable version. And so what I wanted to give you was the stable version, right? And those videos are based on this stable version. Right. Supposedly everyone has some feedback from me about your proposal. All right. I've had some questions from a few of you. I'm happy to explain any others who have some questions as well. Yes, but I guess it's best to get rid of this remaining set of slides. I hope to finish this by the first hour, and then in the second hour we can have some fun with the software. Okay, so yes, ironically, the name of the slides is the actual name of the course. Audio Design Fundamentals. But it needed to have a bit of an introduction, the basic theory, the basic skills, and some history, because actually that's the knowledge you need to actually start doing some audio design. And as you realize, the course is mainly focused on the project, and that's what we want to do. So all that theoretical aspect there that you had for the exam, as well as the lot of reading you had to do, that all is preparation for this grand finale of a project. So what we are here to see are basically four mainly learning outcomes. So one is talking about the mood, managing the tension, and providing some resolution. We already covered a bit of ideas about mood in the coursework one, okay, but here we sort of want to give a bit more tangible approaches of how we can tackle this. Skills in processing, mixing, controlling sound for aesthetic effect. Mostly here is things that we need to do with Audacity. And Audacity is something you will need for coursework too. The general workflow of game creation, really game creation, digital experience creation, but yes, understanding where audio design fits in this workflow. And then some terminology and functionality, some of which is a bit over and above what we're going to be doing here. But again, you can't not know about them having done a basic audio design course here. So those four, again, as four main topics in the slides. Very trivial. So, the notion of mood, tension, and resolution. I don't know how many of you have seen it. How many of you have seen Mrs. Doubtfire? I will honestly say I don't like horror films, so I have not seen it. I mean, I've seen it now, but I haven't seen the actual film. Mrs. Doubtfire, on the other hand, Roy Williams is a great actor that I like, particularly because most of his films covered the human, what makes one human, okay, the humanity of man, of person kind. So Mrs. Doubtfire is one of them. Bicentennial Man was a great film again. He began as a robot and he died as a person. What Dreams May Come was a splendid one. It's about afterlife. Patch Adams, another great movie there. I didn't like Mork and Mindy back in the old days, but I was a younger person back then. So these two films are, of course, very different. It is a horror movie, and Mrs. Doubtfire, possibly, being now with the older generations, not old, older generations, compared to the full-timers, I mean. They get divorced, and to stay close to his kids, he comes in as a maid, and so he dresses up as a maid to be able to be with them. Well, what we can see is that we can use audio to cast, to project unintended mood on the audience based on what frequencies we present in the experience, and also the rhythm and rests that we use. So the silence that we use within the soundscape. In on the Moodle page, somewhere here, you do have a link to two recuts. Okay, there's Stephen King's It recut as a family movie, and likewise Mrs. Doubtfire recut as a horror movie. Now, there's a bit of a cheat here. There's the editing and some effects on the visuals, but also the idea, the use of music to project a different story. So they're using tidbits from the story, changing the sequence of these tidbits, and but with the music actually making it more of a family movie in the case of it, and more of a horror movie in the case of Mrs. Doubtfire. It's I don't like showing full videos over a shared screen, because I mean it's mediated. I mean, you might as well see it on your on your own. But what I wanted you, so later on, and take a look at them. But what I wanted you to notice is that the way they project the family movie is they start with a solemn tone. So it starts off with a solemn tone, and people who are not happy, and they have problems, and they're not happy with the status quo. And then there's a change of melody to something which is wrapping up speed, okay, preparing for something big, and in this part of the trailer, sort of you get glimpses of this clown that's coming to help everyone get over their problems, and then when we finally see its full face and whatever, we get this jolly music that sort of he's coming in as a savior to help save these people from their problems. And if you believe in magic, sort of, this is what's coming along. So that's the usual family movie, kind of like, there's a solemn start, then the hero comes and solves the problem. Mrs. Doubtfire, on the other end, also starts on a solemn tone, because we start off with the divorce situation, and the judge saying, sort of, based on your non unorthodox behavior, sort of, we can't trust the kids in your possession, and we dedicate them to the wife. And that's already a solemn start, right? And then they project, specific cuts and edits. They project this persona of Mrs. Doubtfire as a villain, right? As a someone who is after to cause harm to the family. And so the music, rather than escalating to something nice, falls even worse into the kind of horror that this recut is presenting us. These are only two examples. There are quite a few more examples, and I might suggest one, which is incidentally, it's about Johnny Depp, right? So Pirates of the Caribbean recast. Let me get music recast. Let me see. Team music, and then not really. So I forgot the keyword to actually get this one. I don't want to waste your time on this one. But there are the same scene where Jack lands with the ship, and so that part there basically, and given different soundtracks, it gets different. Let me see. Parody, not parody, possibly parody. Jack Sparrow playlist. Well, of course, there's so many clips of Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, I will find it and I will paste it on the channel for the subject. But there are quite a lot of these. Potentially, you know what? I might actually do that. Potentially, if we get this one, it might come up on the side list. Not really. Braveheart. This one of them. This is another one. Okay, Braveheart comedy trailer. Now, if you've seen Braveheart, you know that Braveheart is not a comedy, but that's one. There's Elf recut as a thriller. Now, personally, I really hate Will Ferrell, so a thriller would be quite a big thing to have. This is one we mentioned already. Silence of the Lambs as a romantic comedy. All right, so all these are interesting takes of how one can use music to change effect. These are the kind of effects I was saying, right? These dilation, blurring of things, and fade outs actually, help to give it this horror movie context. But the music as well is also important. Okay, so I should have convinced you that audio is a mood is a very important tool. Now, what can we actually do? How do we actually convey such a mood? And this is from the book Sound Design by David Sonnenschein. I believe it's David Sonnenschein, back from 20 years ago, which of course means that we don't have all the recent musical genre. Okay, there's no K-pop, if you like. But you get the basic genre here as ideas. And these two tables are looking from different perspectives. Even the first one is actually from the 1700s, according to Frederick Marburg. And these are acoustic expressions of emotional states. If there hasn't been a revision of this, it means they're still good. They're still valid. So on the left-hand side column, you have the emotion that one should want to convey. And on the second column here, the expression, is what kind of music or sounds one should provide in order to convey that kind of emotion. So, for example, of course, if we want sorrow, then music should be slow. It should be a languid melody, so not really jumping up and down the melody, but really small changes in the melody. Possibly the use of sighing, right? People who are caressing of single words with exquisite tonal material. And overall, a dissonant harmony, right? Again, dissonant meaning that the two notes played together do not sound nice, but rather sound off. Right? They don't sound pretty. They sound really well. I just realized I forgot to get my second screen. Well, I'll get it later. Happiness on the opposite end is a fast movement. Okay, so different from the languid melody. We want animated, triumphant, a warm tone color, and of course a more consonant harmony. But then these are extremes. So how do we get something in between? Okay, so contentment, is not extreme as happiness. So you would expect a more steady and more tranquil melody. So less jumping around with the notes and more stable melody. But of course, you still want a warm tone color and you still want consonants. Again, sorrow, but a different flavor of sorrow is repentance. But because there's repentance, there's guilt. You are not you are angry at yourself for what you have done. Then there should be a turbulent, lamenting melody rather than a languid one. Okay, there should still be less stability because your anger has to manifest itself in some way, and that's in the lack of stability within the melody itself. Then there's hopefulness. Hopefulness here suggests a proud. What's a proud melody? Well, a proud melody is usually high, it's usually loud, and also quite stable. Okay, so again, exultant, so quite boisterous as a melody, as opposed to fear, where fear here suggests tumbling downward progressions. So the melody should go down, tumbling, okay, you're like falling downstairs, down the stairs, and also mainly in the lower register. Now, lower register means lower frequencies. If you want to elicit laughter, so drawn out, tan 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 tan, languid tones. Fickleness, something which is fickle, something which is not there but not there. Okay, so again, expressions of fear and hope should change. You should alternate between them. Timidity, like fear, but an intensified expression of impatience. Impatience means that the rhythm is a bit fast. Love, there's constant harmony, soft, flattering melody. Hate, on the opposite, rough, a rough harmony. So there are big jumps, if you like. That's why it means rough. Smooth is when the changes in notes are quite small changes. Rough when there are big changes. Envy, growling tones. Again, what's a growl? Well, it's low frequencies, but also loud. Compassion, soft, smooth, lamenting melody. So something like sorrow as well, but there's a repeated figures in the bass. So there's a repetition in the lower parts. Sorry about that silence. There was an advert. So jealousy has a kind of progression, right? From a soft wavering tone and then changes over to a scolding tone and then goes over to a moving sighing tone. Wrath, so hatred here, so expression of hate combined with running notes, so it's not just hate, but it's also angry at you as well. Modesty, daring, innocence, and impatience. So that's sort of what you want to go for and what kind of qualities you should look in the music to try and convey that. On the other side, we have the musical genre and what kind of feelings these usually elicit. Okay, so sacred music, hymns, gospel music, shamanic drumming, so from different religions, if you like, should give you a grounding, should give you a spiritual awareness. Gregorian chants, so that's the male monks singing together, usually has this kind of openness, contemplation. There's the New Age, which was quite a buzzword genre in the 2000s. So expansion of space and time, calm wakefulness, detachment from the body. Slower Baroque and classical and romantic and the Impressionists are more older kind of music, but they give you security, they give you regalness, two-dimensional perception. What the hell is that? Romantic, pride, patriotism, Impressionist. But then there's the jazz, blues, African American, reggae, joyous, heartfelt feelings. Of course, the Latin for sexy, heart pounding, body stimulating. Big band, pop, giving us this feeling of goodness, contained movement, and rock, of course, aggressive movement in that case, and the BV metal, that should be a heavy metal, punk rap, emanating the nervous system, rebellious behavior. Okay, we're going there. So if you're picking music, just to put it in, make sure at least that the impact that is listed here fits a bit with what you want to provide to your level, to your level. Then we're going. Okay, listen, I'm not going to go for specific musics. I want maybe to try and make my own music. That's fine. I'm just seeing your comment now. Can it? Sorry. Yeah. Proud, tipo, epic music. I would say so. Yeah. That fits the description. And let's mark. Whoa. Okay, I got something interesting here. Caramel. But that got resolved apparently.
Torta Charles.
Oh, hello. Well, Kevin is here as well. Save that and let's give it a break. So, what if we're going to be using our own notes? Maybe some of you have some music knowledge and want some help with that idea. So this table here, also from Schonenein's book, is the kind of interval that we have between notes, okay, and what kind of emotional characteristic do they provide, do they present. I wouldn't suggest that we spend a lot of time on music theory to get what these are, but and it will take you much more time to build it. But just for those of you who have some background of music theory, this table might be useful. All right. Just remember that the smaller the ratio becomes, okay, the more dissonant the sound becomes. So a 1:1, okay, is the same note, so that's fine. A 1:2, that means basically it's twice the ratio. Perfect fifth, that's like 1.5. 3:4, 4:5, 5:8, 5:6. And from strength, completeness, power, serenity, hopeful, okay, we're reaching tense, strange, suspenseful. Kenneth will like this, malevolent, demonic, and horror. All right, so the closer you get to those elements there, the more stranger that is going to sound. I could try to well, either on the piano, or I could use Note Flight for that. And I think you should be able to listen to that. So let me just try it with this one straight away. Not yet. Just create one. Come on. Yes, that one. Now, for you to hear this, I think I need to change to it so you can actually hear the sound. Scene channel. Okay. So can you just tell me if you can hear the note once it plays? I didn't hear a thing myself. Okay, did anyone hear anything?
Yes.
Very faintly, Emma.
Very faint. Very faint. That means you heard it through my microphone and speakers. Well, let me change that. Is it any louder?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, it was better.
Okay. Well, here I can switch back to the whole screen. All right. So a whole octave, and of course we mean that the note is actually played at the same time. So that's an F. So we should have another F here. Where are you? There. And this one can go away, and that's actually a semi-brief, right? So, like this, we have a whole octave. Okay, so we have an F here and then F above. That's a whole octave. So a whole octave at 2:1, that is this here. Okay, it provides completeness, openness, togetherness, circularity. Okay, it's a strong sound there. One less, I'm not going to go all of them, but I just want to bring this contrast. One note less, okay, that's going to give us a perfect fifth. So one step down, that's a perfect fifth. And that's basically the F and the C. Oh, I just need to, yeah, nice, there. So we have an F and a C, and that plays like this. It's not as strong as the first, as what we had before, but you have this F and C, where C is a fifth harmonic of F. Now, I want you to now listen to diminished fifth. Okay, it's a 5/7. It's like a perfect fifth, but it's one note down. It's one note down. So instead of a C, it's actually a B. It's actually a B, and it listens like this. Okay, and you can clearly identify both notes, and it's like you're listening to two opposing diatribes at the same time, and you can't decide which one you want to go for, right? And the problem is this, because it is so close to the perfect fifth, okay, the perfect fifth giving you power, centering, it's just a little bit lower, right? It's kind of like you have this expectation, but no, you're not getting it, all right? You're being given, you're smelling the food, but you're not getting any of it, okay? That's the kind of malevolent, right? Some people make a sacrifice by not buying sweets. Other people just buy the sweets but leave it there just to be tempted. No, it's more malevolent for them. So this is the kind of what we mean by ratios here. If you want to look into these, okay. So if we look for minor third, I'm pretty sure you could have F minor third, and it would give you, for example, this one. The F minor third would be an A flat. Okay, you see a small m, that's a minor one, and F, the minor third would be an A flat, where the major third was the A. What we played actually was this B. All right, so the C was the fifth, the diminished fifth was this B here. Don't know if he gives you the diminished fifth here, diminished third. No, I didn't go on that. But yes, once you have this table, you could actually find, okay, if I press an F, what would be the next interval for that? And of course, so when we talk here about introduced by a soft tone, scolding tone, finally to a sighing tone, you could have a different sequence of notes that would take you through different moods. It's what also called the chord progressions. Okay, when I call chord progressions, it's the sequence of these chords after each other and what kind of effect they leave on the listener. Okay, so that's what we have about audio as mood. And in your case now, for your projects, I'm not expecting music from everyone on every level. Okay, you are the designers, you are responsible of your design. So if you feel that for this level, silence is the best background because it's about someone sleeping, okay, so there shouldn't be any noise, or you want the silence in contrast with the previous map, that's fine, okay, as long as you justify it, okay. Don't do anything without explaining why you're doing it. That's the crux of the design part. We mentioned this part about controlling sound for aesthetic effect. And apart from the sound that you choose to have, okay, the loudness of it is also important. And here we talk about dynamic range compression. Now, compression we've mentioned in two aspects. One of them was the compression of the file size, right, from WAV to MP3, for example. This is not about file size compression, it's about dynamic range compression. It's about the difference between the softest parts of the sound and the loudest parts of the sound. So in this example here, we have the blue, which is the original sound, which is quite loud, even going beyond the uh, the one, the one and minus one, and some we can't see them because now they are overridden by the orange. But there are some silent sounds here. With compression, okay, we're going to increase the loudness of the softer parts, and we're going to decrease the loudness of the louder parts. The louder parts. So if we look up Audacity, launch, not look up, sorry, and it appears somewhere out of thin air. There you go. No, you can. It's okay. It's fine. So if I have something like this, and then something, then a bit of a loud voice there, and it's quiet and staying quiet there. All right. So we have a bit of quiet sounds and quite loud sounds there. So so mumbling and loud voices, right? And we go to effect, okay, and we look at the compressor. And you look at the compressor, and the compressor here is what kind of effect we would like to have on our sounds. Okay, so there's a threshold of silence, what we consider to be noise, the ratio we would like to apply between the smaller ones and the big ones, and then attack and release is more like the fade in and fade out. So if we do a preview there, maybe even visually we can show that. Some presets, I don't have presets here. Okay, so if I do an OK there, but actually even these were seen. Well, to be fair, I didn't shout too much, right? It's below the 0.5. So basically what says than 0.5 is made louder, and what's louder than 0.5 is made smaller. So maybe I can amplify this a bit. Yeah, so that's up to the 1 there. So now I can try again that compression part. Okay, and you can see that the compression now did not increase the size of the loud parts, but actually reduce them. So I can go to effect again, that's compressor. And maybe I can do a screenshot and compare. So screenshot that, apply the OK, and if we get the screenshot we did there on the paint.
Sam,
Yes.
before we delve into the sounds themselves, for the design, we need background music, and then or no background music as long as it's justified, I guess, like you said, and then the sounds we pinpointed, we identified in the proposal. Yes, so it's
Yes.
a mixture of the two. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and I hope to show where these will fit towards the end of the lesson in terms of files. Okay, I will show the actual files
Okay, for delivery, you mean?
for delivery. Yes, yes, yes.
All right, thanks.
Welcome. Okay, so compression here has decreased the loudness of these big ones, but did not decrease these small ones, but actually increased them a bit. All right, so that's what we're getting here by compression, which is good when you have a mixture of sounds. Of course, when you have separate sounds having their own different loudnesses, then that's something that you would have to work on your own by diminishing the amplification or increasing the amplification of the sound, which would be the amplify effect that I did earlier. okay, with the effect amplifier there to amplify certain sound, a particular sound clip, because maybe it's too low compared to the other sound clips you have on the map. So that will allow you to increase the loudness or decrease the loudness. Okay, now some terminology that I will be using as well in some subsequent slides. There's a notion of a sound bank. A notion of a sound bank. The ADE, the software we're going to use, doesn't have this notion of a sound bank. It might have in the future. But sound bank is basically you don't control the sounds individually. You can group them up into a bank of sounds, and then you can control those collections of sounds together, okay, at the same time. So it's a collection of packaged up, compressed sound files that if you're using audio systems, maybe even in Unity, you might find these there. Now, prefetch, this notion of prefetch. So the software we're going to be using actually does this. Whenever you need a sound, it's not loaded then on demand, okay? We actually load all the sounds at the beginning, so that then, when you need them, they are already in memory. Okay, so the prefetch process is that the program at the beginning will load the sounds needed, and then during runtime, as soon as you need the sound, it's already in memory, it gets played. Sound triggering, okay, which is what the software does, really. Allows non-technical people to hook up sounds into the game, into the experience, animations, events, and this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to say, listen, whenever the mouse pointer goes into this region, we want to trigger this particular sound. There's the notion of volume ducking. We mostly hear this on radios, okay, when the music is playing, but then the DJ decides to ruin your recording back in the day. By speaking over the music automatically lowers its loudness to allow the DJ to be heard and understood. So some systems do this automatically. I haven't yet found the need for it yet in our system, in the system. And then there's also positional audio. Positional audio, which considers the distance of the source from the camera. In our software, yes, we do have positional audio. So the loudness of the sound depends on how far you are from the sound source. Okay? And also, it will be placed. Actually, that's coming up next, so I won't say that. Position audio, we're going to position sounds on this 2D space, and our distance from it will determine how loud it's going to be. Switching. Okay, how do we switch between sounds? It could be due to a trigger or due to proximity. So as you go from one sound to the next, okay, how do you switch over? It could be also due to distance or deprioritization. So the farther away you get, it gets switched off because it's no longer relevant, or maybe because some other sound needs to be given priority, so the less priority sounds are turned off. With respect to sequence and randomization, when we have multiple sounds, we might compose a sequence of sounds into one specific sound. So let's say you're looking for the sound of a firework. All right. So you want the right, but you don't find that sound. In that case, call the guy who was on Motor Got Talent, right, and ask him to do it for you. No. Seriously, let's say you find the sound of that's it, and then you find the sound of a and you want to compose them, right? And so you put them in the sequence to get this particular sound followed by this particular sound. You do that in that case, not in my software, doesn't handle that, but you can do it in Audacity. Okay, you compose the sound in the Audacity, you save it as an MP3, and then you use it within the system. Randomization. That's actually a nice would-be feature that could be added to the software, wherein for each label you don't provide just one sound, one MP3, but you could provide a number of MP3s and then it randomly selects from them. Maybe you can apply weights. Okay, so some of them are chosen more often than others. We don't have that yet, but it could be nice. Blending, okay, cross-fading between sounds, which can happen, and you can set this up to happen if you have overlapping ranges for these sounds. So as you go away from sound A, it fades off, and as you approach sound B, it cross-fades into sound B. We mentioned sound banks, grouping, and buses, which will help you to configure mixing with the same accuracy for them. We don't have this feature here. And some real-time controllers that would help you parameterize interactive audio, not yet implemented in the system. It's basically the mouse which will control the sound experience that we're going to have. Localization, this is what I wanted to mention earlier, reflecting the source position relative to the listener. And in the software, yes, if there's a sound source to your right, okay, you will hear it on your right headphones or speaker, whatever. If you go closer to it, it will pan to the center, and if you go off to the right, it will pan off to your left. So that's implemented okay. Ambience. Ambience is when you apply filters to your sounds. Filters such as echoes, reverberation, a delay, a Doppler effect. A Doppler effect is when you have a car that drives past, or an ambulance, okay? And the ambulance sounds brighter as it approaches you and duller as it goes away, because the speed of the waves is affected by the moving car. And maybe some filtering. Maybe you have a low-pass filter or high-pass filter. We don't have that yet within the system. Again, a nice feature to have, given that we can throw at it some man hours, which are short in supply. in short supply. Attenuation and damping, again, the further away you are, the bigger the distance, the lower the amplitude, and the damping is a result of objects in the room. You know, when you are in an empty room, there's a lot more echo, and the sound lives longer. But when there are carpets and curtains and books and furniture, you know, the sound dies off, and that is the damping effect there. Replication and alignment. Here we're saying if we have a visual representation of the sound, we must make sure that this replication is well aligned. Otherwise, we get a delayed sound effect, which is not really always fun to see, especially if it's speech. Okay, don't you hate it when the lip sync is off? And then the music, you could have dialogue and menus. So you could have interactive music, depending on where you are in the system. We don't have that as a background music. The background music is fixed per level. But of course, you could have music playing in different locations of your map, and you could move your mouse around. Localized dialogue, that means that speech could be translated into other languages. And you could have, of course, outside game menu music. Again, not in my system. I don't have that. Unless you actually want that. I mean, I asked you for 3 levels in the proposal, but now I would want 5. Maybe you want to add a menu. A menu for your game simulation. And you want to show what kind of sound effects one would have when one is in a menu. It's an idea. It's an idea. This bit. This is where I get to rant a bit. So I had found this game design workflow. Particularly, I would like to actually increase it a bit in size so we can focus a bit on it. And so we had this kind of workflow, right? So game design, and you're focusing on story, on mechanics and interaction. And you start off with concept art, so the visual part of the experience, and as well the level prototyping. So that's focusing more on the gameplay. And in parallel, so while someone is prototyping these levels, the technical artist is focusing on the modeling of the characters, and then working on their static meshes of props, of buildings, so their textures, and as well as skeletal meshes of characters, weapons, and any other animated models. Looking at UV mapping with textures, a rigging of the skeleton for the animation, resulting in the use of the material editor and the animation set editor, and then you combine this into these levels. So you have this level blocking, and then we dress up the level. Okay, we apply makeup to the level. The final looking level ready to be finalized. And what do we add? We add lighting. All right, we add the light sources for the shadows and reflections. We add kismet, which are level interactions and animations like opening doors, as well as scripted events like cutscenes and spawning enemies. We add particle effects like fire, smoke, mist. We add sounds and terrains. Yeah, the sound is something just to add, haphazardly in hindsight. Uh, no. I mean, when you're doing concept art up here, your character that you're drawing, what are they wearing on their feet? Are they wearing, metal boots, or are they leather boots? Do they have chains around them? Is their clothing made of leather? When they swish their hands, does it make what sound does it make? Do they have earrings? Do they have a chain across their chest? Their weapons? How long is the scimitar they are extracting from their scabbard? Don't you need sounds for this? It's too late in the dress-up level. If, for example, listen, we can't make a sound of a scimitar that long. You have to shorten your scimitar. Yeah, too bad you didn't tell me beforehand you wanted those sounds. All right? Sound design should be, why not, a third thread, a third sequence of processes happening at the same time with the concept art, with the level prototyping. You want an explosion in your level? What are the acoustics of your level? What kind of materials inside your level? Is this a dungeon? Is this a space level, as in science fiction? Is it outdoors? If you want an explosion, I need to know what kind of environment you want to have. You can't leave sound for later. Because sometimes the inability to find a sound that will work well will mean that the visuals have to compensate for it. They have to reduce that element. They have to remove it away because I can't get you a sound for that. These big behemoths that you wanted to have in your sound and in your game, what kind of sounds do we apply for that? If we don't, plan for it, it can't be there. Remember, you don't notice sound until it's bad. So you really want to have great sound, otherwise it will break the system, to break the experience. So please, no, don't leave sounds as an afterthought. They have to be part of the design as early as possible. Why? Well, because we need some time for audio production. As you well know, we have different. First of all, there's an audio team. It's not a single person. There's a whole team for audio. There's a sound director who's in charge of this technical direction. You have these sound designers who are managing this audio production pipeline, which we will describe in a moment. Then we need the people who make the sound, right? We need dialogue. We need voice-over artists. Usually they are outsourced, okay? But until you outsource them, you will want to have a placeholder, someone who will, narrate the stuff, so you actually have an idea of what kind of speech you want. I have done voice-over artist work for a Turkish admiral in the Great Siege, an English radio man during the arrival of the convoy of Santa Maria, and I've also played God in some Christmas pantomime. Yeah, having a deep voice helps. Then you can also have licensing and contacting directors. If you want music from, ready-made music and you want to apply it to your system, you need to get rights to be able to use it. For example, we had a challenge for this video that we did, a couple of years ago. We had this video of the Hypogeo. And our big question was, what kind of music can we use here? I mean, when I was recording my voice chanting in the Oracle room, I first tried to do like a do, re, and I was like, who am I kidding? They didn't have do, re, mi 6,000 years ago. So I just went for la, going for frequencies, trying to detect what kind of frequencies the Oracle chamber enjoyed, okay, amplified. And I can tell it was impressive. It was an otherworldly experience. But we were looking for music, and I mean, what kind of instruments could we have there, right? And first we tried to make our own sounds for it, but it was like crap. So I was looking for stuff on YouTube. Is there someone who's doing this kind of stuff? And we found this guy, Paleo Wolf, okay, who has this collection of prehistoric meditation and ritual for cleansing from the post-industrial era. Ooh, dark prehistoric shamanism, dark tribal ambient. Okay, and we were sort of looking into his work. Quite epic sounding. And he had quite a few options here. So Nordic, Stone Age, Hunter, Feral Spirit. And eventually we went, I think it wasn't this one. Oh, this one. Primal Earth. Primal Earth is more like Jurassic. It's a bit too early for us. This one. For Earth, okay, having dark Neolithic drums and flutes, which we liked, and it had bits and pieces that were relevant to what we wanted. But the problem is, how are we going to use it? We wanted to get put on YouTube, so of course YouTube would, hey, you're doing copyright problems here. And seeing he has 45,000 views since 2019. Okay, quite popular guy, right? Yeah, so basically we approached him, we sent him a message, and asked if he would be willing. We're quite behind 27,000, with just 12 months later. But yeah, we got in touch and asked him if he was willing to allow us, or what did he want, for ability to use his music as a soundtrack. And he was happy to be mentioned in the credits, somewhere here. There you are. Okay, and we just got him, listed there, and he was quite happy. And when he saw it, he was like quite nice with that, quite appreciative. Yes, narration. That was someone of Fiverr. We offered a work for on the Fiverr system. Got some quotations. We did have a first. We wanted a Morgan Freeman style of voice, and we got the first one. Wasn't really cutting it, but then we got this guy here who had quite a nice dark voice. Somewhere.
Tools of bone and stone have taken millennia of hard labor to carve and hew the darkest chambers in my.
Yeah, that was quite close to what we wanted, what we are after. So composers, we went outsourced. With respect to audio programmers, in this one it was a video, so it was mostly Joe Camilleri's work. But for the actual VR experience, within the VR experience itself, that's more me and Jeremy placing the sounds and calculating what to use where. So there's quite a few people that are involved in this, and the process is also a tri-stage process. There's a pre-production stage, the production stage, and then the post-production stage. And guess what? In the pre-production stage, there is an audio design document where the style is defined, the mood is defined, the functionality is described, and we generate a sound asset list. Sounds like coursework one, huh? Yeah, that was the idea. So coursework one was this pre-production stage to get you to think a bit about what you're going to be designing. So there's a bit of literature, there's a bit of background knowledge there, some thoughts about how to get the mood, the functionality, so what sounds will be where and how they will convey the story, the mood, the whatever experience you wanted to project. And the final part, if you remember, was this blessed asset list. Now, coursework 2, that's the production stage. Here, there's going to be the recording process, whether it's live, so the actual recording of the actual object, or a Foley, something which sounds like it, sound libraries and acquisition of sound from them. I'm not going to ask you to do any sound synthesis or procedural audio. You may if you wish, but I'm not expecting that. But then there needs to be this audio integration. How are we going to combine all these sounds together into one experience that is hopefully cohesive, right? That there isn't jarring sounds from each one. Post-production stage, real-time mixing and ducking, that's going to be done by the software itself. So the software will handle the mixing of the sounds, and as you go from one to the other, the reduction of the amplitude of a sound and the increase of the other. Okay, so we're following an actual production process. Well done. Coursework 1 is done. Now we have to work with coursework 2. This is not a corruption of my screen. This is an actual screenshot from a cousin of mine. A cousin of mine works with the audio and visual industry, actually. And he shared what he had found on some work, where someone actually cut sounds and tried to fix the problem later. Fixing it in the post. So fixing it in the post-production stage. That's how ugly it looks if you try to do that. The lesson to learn is do not fix it in the post. So if the recording goes bad, don't say, okay, we'll fix it later. No, all right? If you can re-record it, retake it again, please do so, because it will save you much more efforts and time later on. And here's the game audio workflow. We have the asset list. Okay, so the asset list that you have presented at the end of your coursework 1, that is going to come in handy because in the production stage, we're going to look at that shopping list. It's basically a shopping list. And we're going to bring in the recorded sound, whether you do it yourself or you've downloaded it from somewhere. And then you sound edit, you remove the extra noise, the extra silence, the cough in between, you lower the amplitude, you do the editing, you sanitize the sound to fit more the requirements of your experience, and so you present the sound assets. As an output of this process, we have the sound assets. And these sound assets are going to be placed in a repository to be loaded by some middleware into the game engine. For example, the Unity engine, can have a plugin which will bring in particular sounds into it. In our case, the software we're going to use is specifically for audio, so it has its own, the middleware is built in, and it will run the game, not as a game, but as an interactive experience based on the mouse movement. And when you try that out, you will be your own QA and testing, right? You know what you imagined it to be, and you will have to judge whether what you have come up with, approximates what you had in mind. I'm pretty sure many will be disappointed, and I don't mean this, to belittle you, but many people, many artists, many designers imagine something so very nice, but then what they're able to do is quite short of what they expected. But then when you present it to someone, they actually like it. Remember, no one is in your brain. No one knows what your expectations are unless you tell them. So what you think is crap compared to what you had in mind might actually be, a 90, 95 grade assignment. That's fine. I will ask you though, all right, to pass a judgment. Okay, how does this match up with what you were expecting? But of course, if there are things that you can fix, okay, then you can go back. Maybe you take another recording, or you look for a better sound from the sound library. You edit a bit, or maybe it's too loud. I want to lower it down. Okay, you export again the sound asset and you put it into the folder again and try it again. All right. So this is actually what we're going to be doing in this coursework too. And even the coursework structure, okay, also follows this. If I can quickly show that, yeah, how? Maybe from here, yeah, going there, download. Okay, so this has like 4 sections. Okay, section 1 is more focused on mood, tension, and resolution. How are we going to set this mood? And it's more a description. Okay, so go to show me each level and how you intend to use sounds and background music or soundscape to convey that kind of sound. And you have a deliverable for each section, so you know what you have to present. Section B, there you are, that's the audio production. So section B is basically this part here, okay? And that's where you are going to tell us what sounds you'll be looking for. And you will need at least 6, all right? So I had asked for 8 in the first one, and I want you to pick 6. You can give me 8, you can give me 20, up to you. But I'm looking for 6. Okay, I'm happy with. I would be happy with 6. And for each one, you should tell me what you want to do. So a design specification. So if you're going to record something, Mela, I want to record my snoring. Enough. Snoring son in my case. All right. So what I'm going to record, location, where, at what time, hopefully when he's sleeping, what the ideal recording apparatus. Okay, so I don't want to use an omnidirectional microphone because I will also capture my giggling. No, I want to use a cardioid microphone so I can only capture his snoring. And any other aspect that you think would be necessary to explain how you want to record this. But then I want the execution report, how you actually did it. And I want a photo of the recording process, hopefully of the snoring son. A short report including challenges that you encountered. How did you solve them? The number of retakes. All right, I was giggling too much. What recording apparatus did you use? Yeah, cardioid microphone. I use my mobile phone. All right. So what was the result of that? Was it so bad as a quality as a result? Okay. And how is that resulting sound compared to what you were expecting to get? Okay, so I got lost in the description when actually what I wanted to do was compare it to the process. So, but yes, section C then is the audio editing. So this part here. So section B is this, section C is this one. And as a result, in the edited folder, you will end up having these MP3 files or WAV or whatever. Okay, those are the sound assets as an output of this process. Then you want to copy those over into the ADE folder, the folder named SM and your SM number. Okay, and that's where you're going to put your MP3 files. So you're going to put them in the asset repository. You will also need to bring in the asset list. Okay, so the software knows what sounds it will look for. But I will come to that shortly. Okay, but again, I want to finish a bit these slides before. Here we have from another source from Dunlop 2014, production pipeline for films and games. So source audio asset creation is when you're creating these audio files by the sound designer or music composer. Usually these are uncompressed initially, and then they are configured for in-game use. Maybe the format needs to be changed. For example, sometimes, and be careful with this, sometimes you download WAV files from online libraries, and they could have some headers which the software doesn't recognize. Okay, so it will complain about the MP3 file or the WAV file. Just load it up in Audacity, open it up with Audacity, and save it again. Okay, export it again. Audacity creates good files, which my software understands. So if you get this kind of problem, just save it, just open and save from Audacity. Then the compressed in-game assets are created. Hopefully you will not send me a 50 gig file. If you can compress those sounds into MP3, that would be great. And then these are hooked up to in-game events. That's what my software will allow you to do. Okay, you will tell the software, listen, when the mouse goes into this area, run this sound, trigger this sound to be played. Localization. Well, while you could have speech sound in the experience, okay, I'm happy to have speech sounds, my software doesn't support multiple languages. So don't worry about translating it into another language. The system won't give you the opportunity to do that. I might in the future, but not in its current build. Yeah, so basically we covered these are the same parts here, but in more
Sam,
yes.
with regards to the speech, can you repeat that bit because I didn't catch what
Okay.
you meant by it? Sorry.
Localization, enough. We started off right with Buenas tardes, bonsoir, buenas notte. You don't need to create multiple languages for each utterance. My software doesn't support multiple languages. So just give me good evening is fine. It's enough. No need to give me multiple languages for that. But in some, in in the industry, most often, and I think I have it here listed.
You're referring when it is dubbed into multiple languages? It
Yes,
would be
yes,
like,
yes.
all right, all right, all
Usually,
right.
it's in 16 languages. All right, you have to present 16 versions of the same speech. Not for this assignment again. Take it easy. Don't worry.
All right, thank you.
So going back on these, so this is the same, not much a lot here. Audio asset setup, what the game will trigger to make some audio happen. Yes, we'll do that in the software. And yes, so how it behaves. In the software you're going to use, the sound is looped. Okay, it's repeated. While you have your mouse in the area where it triggers the sound is repeated. It's looped. So if you want to have some silence between one iteration of the sound and the next, you have to put that silence in your sound. Okay, so in Audacity here, this is going to be repeating all the time. It will sound something like. Actually, I wanted to repeat, please. Yes, loop on and off. And then something, then a bit of a loud voice there. And then something, then a bit. No, it will repeat like this. So if you want to have some silence between them, what you can do is you can go towards the end and you can generate silence. Okay, and you can determine how long you want the silence to be. Okay, and you have your silence there. Oops, I want you to play the whole thing. Oh, I see. I'll turn off the loop.
كم تشعلق لرو من فوق سير between 6 and 7.
Oh, yes, thank you. See? You're learning. Well done. Yeah, it goes on, right? And that silence there then would be exported with your sound. Yeah, and when it loops, it will include that silence within your sound itself. All right. In fact, one of the hidden features, which is not enabled, was the ability to indicate whether a sound is to be looped or not, and also how often it is to be looped. But it had some bugs, and I wanted you to be able to do your project, so I gave you the not the beta version, but the stable version. Okay, in-game audio asset build process. So we can change the locally. Okay, yes. So what is the software you're getting? So I had asked on the Games Network, which is a forum I'm part of, whether they have any audio prototyping software, and no one had any specific audio prototyping software that they usually use. And they actually are like, oh, we wouldn't be interested in something like that. So my idea was, before we test the sound in a game engine like Unity, we test the sound in a game maker or something. Could we have a smaller version of software which allows someone who is not a developer to try out their sounds, right? To try out the placement of the sounds, from where you can hear them, without having to wait for the developer to actually start building the game, right? And this is one such tool. Okay, it's a tool which allows you to test this. In fact, for the hypogeum experience, okay, for this, so in placement in 3D of the sound, I wasn't really looking forward to spending like 5 or 6 hours in VR trying to put the sounds and testing them all the way. So what I did, I used my software, I loaded maps of the hypogeum, I placed the sounds I wanted to have, and I tested them, sort of, okay, what kind of experience I'm going to get. Once I was happy with that, I gave it to Jeremy, I sat next to him, and I only spent 3 hours positioning the sounds and getting the correct range of the audio itself. Yeah, 3 hours after having prototyped it. So imagine if I haven't prototyped it. I wouldn't be nauseatic for a week or so. Implementation of audio assets. This is actually hooking the sound to the script. So we'll be doing that, and I'm going to be showing you that as well. So the sound events and triggers that will actually make this work. As I said, we don't need localization, and we're done. Okay, so the general workflow is these 5 steps, all right? But in our case, this is more industry version. In our case, we have a shorter version of that, but which matches this diagram sequence here, and also is the production stage, which we are doing after having done the pre-production stage in the beginning. So that's the justification of why I wanted you to give me this proposal in time, so that I could give you feedback and you could start on this production stage. It also reflects the the spiral model as opposed to the waterfall model. If I just gave you the assignment and with no guidance, and then you gave me something like, this is not what I wanted, 0. That's the waterfall method. We went for the spiral method. You made a little effort. Okay, you gave me 3 levels. I gave you feedback on that, and now you can go and make 5 levels, and you're going in the right direction because you have a bit of feedback from my end. Okay, so what is this blessed ADE engine that I have been talking about? Mela, and I will also explain a bit the file structure, okay, and how that works basically from here. So I'm assuming, so I have 10 thumbs up and no eyes, so that's that's helpful because I've had issues with Macs a bit, but Windows going well. I don't know if Alexandru put a tick there. Yes, okay. So Linux was just just a comment. Okay, might have been interesting to see if we could get it to work to Linux. Okay, so basically you're gonna get this exe file. Okay, you will not get all these. You will have this Java and this library folder, and possibly the data as well. You will not have all these. Why? Because these were made by other students. This is what I want from you eventually. So I will want a folder from you, SM and the 4 numbers that you have with St. Martin's. And within each one, I will be expecting quite a few files. Now, as you can see, hopefully, some of them start off with the same name as the folder, SM4551, and the others don't. Okay, the others have different sounds. Yes, beeping of heart monitor, toilet flushing, running of water. Interesting. So, what are these? So, this file here is the key file. This one here, the LST file. That is the asset list. Okay, let's open that with Notepad. Where's open with here? Let's open that with Notepad. So these are some submissions from previous students. So they are not definitely, the perfect example, but let's see someone like that. So this LST file, the software, when you tell it, I want to load 4551, SM451, will look for an LST file with the same name. And this will have pointers, okay, to the sound files that it should be loading. All right. So it knows about CU Sova being petted because it's listed here. It knows about AM arcade machine because it's listed here. So these files, which are not starting with the SM4551, okay, they are only being used because they are available here. If you forget to list them here, they won't be used. The other files, which are not in the LST file, the program will look for them, will recognize them. And if you realize they have a -1, -2, -3, 4, and 5. That -1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corresponds to the map number. So for each map, we have at least 3 files. Well, actually, 3 files for each map. We have a JPEG, we have an LVL, and we have an MP3. Now, the JPEG is the actual map that will be loaded. Okay, the software will load this map on the background, at the back. And these JPEGs, I'm going to be a bit finicky here, need to be 1024 by 768. Okay, dimensions have to be 1024 by 768. If we have a different aspect ratio, just put in some black border around, but it has to be 124 by 768. Sorry, it has to fix that. It has to meet that. The MP3, if you want, is the background music for that level. Okay, so to load this JPEG file and we'll load this MP3 file and play it automatically in the background while that level is playing. This LVL, if you open it with Notepad, Notepad, yes. Yeah, you don't do it yourself, all right? This file will be made by my program. When you save the level, it will create the LVL for you, all right? So, of course, if you send me a folder without the LVLs, I will not have your work, okay? I will have your JPEG, your background music, but I will not have the placement of the sounds on that level. And we can see, others. So we have SM4571. Okay, again, LST file. This one used WAV. It's okay, a little bit bigger as a file, but it works as well. So those are for the 5 levels. And in the LST file, open with Notepad, we have the links to the other files. The bush.wav, the porch.wav, the creaking, the hooting, the running. They're all there. All right. So this LST file, that allows us to go back here. is a text file that you have to create in Notepad or something similar. Okay, it's a text file representing your asset list from section BA, which is basically the asset list you had in coursework 1. All right, and the syntax of that file is the level number, a semicolon, the label to be used for that sound, another semicolon, a short description, a semicolon, and the actual sound file to be used. The example I give you here is, so if level 1 has 3 sounds, com pickup 1, com pickup 2, com pickup 3.12, with labels A, B, and C. So there's 1, which is the level number, the label to be used, A, B, and C, a short description, and the actual sound file. So if we see this, all right, we can see level number 1. They chose to use as a label also a number 1, fine. A short description, wind chimes, and the actual sound file, okay, Porsche.12. There are some disclaimers here, you can see them in red. Labels need to be unique across levels. So I can't have A in the first level, A in the second level, A in the third level, unless they are the same sound. If it's the same MP3 file or the same WAV file, okay, you can have A being used in all 3. But if the first one is birds.wav and the second one is snakes.wav, they can't share the same label. All right, it has to be unique across the whole experience, not per level. Not per level. So that's a text file that you need to create and to place within your SM 4-axis folder. Okay, let me show you how this is basically going to work. All right, so let's go with the flushing guy thingy. Where's this one? There was this one. Okay, SM4551, since we're using this. So I'm going to, it's placed in the as a subfolder within the ADE. All right, I'm going to run this one, this exe, and it will ask me to enter the level name. So the level name is basically the folder name containing all this information. Okay, so it's SM4551. It's case sensitive. Okay, so make sure to put in this case, SM451 in capital letters. Okay. Da-da-da-da! Error loading SM4551.list file. What happened? SM4551. Yes, what's the problem? Who can spot it? Let me show you the error message.
It's not in caps.
That's right. You see, it's looking for capital S, capital F. It's not. Okay, and it will tell you problem. So let's rename this to SM. And let's run that again. SM4551. Error loading SM4551.lst file again. What do we have? SM, where do you go? Up here. Just checking that we have extensions. This is something else you need to be aware of. Okay, make sure their file extensions is on and it's correct. All right. What kind of error did we have there? Now that's an important one. In the data folder, there's a console.txt. It's a text document, and it's been modified 1927. Just a minute ago. Probably it's interesting. Let's open that up. And we have the error. Okay, so this file is named SM4551-1.jpg, not SM4551, SM4551. Again, it's the case sensitivity. So you realize that all of them are lowercase. So rather than changing this to capital, maybe it's best to change this to small lowercase. SM small lowercase 4551. Yay! Alright, so that's a bit of troubleshooting to show you what could be the issues here. So it's loaded the background image. Okay, It's playing, I think you can hear it, some background music. Okay. And it has loaded the cushion sound asset. So let's look at that LST file again. Open with Notepad. Open with Notepad. Okay. So we can see that in level 1, there is only one file. There's our 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5. It's there. The label is CU. That's CU over there. Description is cushion. It's cushion there. And the sound file, it's CU software being patted. Okay, so if we go to level 2, we should have also a single one, arcade machine. So let's go to level 2. You click on there. Down here you can see levels, level 1. You can press 2, okay, to switch to level 2. So we'll switch to level 2, all right? And we have that arcade machine. Look how many arcade machines we have, okay? If you go to level 3, we have 2, correct, we have 2, running water and something being placed on a table. If you go to level 4, we have 2, okay, toilet flushing and bars being hit, there you go. And in 5, we have another 2, okay, bingo harmonica and footsteps in the hallway. So, okay, so let's go back to 1. Next to the label of CU, we have this number 2. Okay, it tells me how many instances of that sound file actually exist. Question coming up from Brigitte. Is the level of art sufficient in this example? All right, so it's not a visual design course, okay? It's an audio design course. As long as I can visually, match the sound to the art, that's fine. If you recall, in the coursework, I had said, a sketch, a hand-drawn sketch. Ideally, it's not a hand-drawn sketch at this level because it's a bit more digital. All right. Yeah. Okay. I feel you there. You don't have to. All right. As long as it's. I mean, to be honest, the way this works, it's for prototyping. Practically, yes, you could just draw on an A4 paper, scan it or take a photo and just upload it here. And you can work on it. That's the idea. You can fast prototype and have an audio prototyping system on it. But just for the sake of quality, I've asked you to also give a bit of a digital version of it. So there's an upgrade from just paper sketch to an actual visual one, so I can understand what you're trying to do. But it doesn't have to be perfect visually. I'm more interested in the audio part for that. You're welcome. Okay. So if I click on the cushion sound here, okay, it plays the cushion sound once. It shows you a list of instances where they are. Okay, the X and Y position, the range in pixels. Basically, that's a radius. If I remember, the range in pixels of this surrounding area, from where you can hear it, basically. And down here you have the name of the file and also its duration in milliseconds. Because we have some basic information about the file which was given here. So right now I have 2. I can click with it selected. Now I can click a third one, a third time, and it will place the sound there. Now, if you look at the status bar down here. Yes, Alexandru, we're not selling this. Just give me a link to where you got the music from. All right. But if you intend to sell this, then you have to get the copyright for that. Right. But for assignment version, as long as you tell us, we got this from here. It's not my work. I got this from here. That's fine. So when I clicked to create an instance of CU, all right, down here, the status bar tells you drag mouse to change sound source audible range. So I can set from how far away this sound will be triggered. All right. and I'll go do it a small one, small like this. All right, and it's been added here. Okay, and you're given the range of pixels of it. Now, this is the editor mode. Okay, if you see down here, mode, it's edit. Okay, there's also the debug and the run mode. Let me show you the run mode. So I press R, it goes into run mode. Run mode, it hides away all the sounds. Okay, even here, but it actually works. So if I go over it, yeah, as if you can hear the cushion patting sound, but there's a cushion patting sound. Let me get the music in the quiet part. We'll find another sound to do. And there's also some sounds here. Maybe you can hear that. But not here. Okay? There isn't any padding here. Why? Actually, the padding sounds a bit not too loud to hear. Let me go to another level. Okay. Okay. So each one of so let's go to edit mode. Okay. Each of these boxes is an arcade machine, and so when we go over it in the run mode, there's this funky sound on the ground. Okay, it's low, but as you reach the center, it's louder. Okay, so it's loudest at the center and less on the outside. The debug mode is like the run mode. But it will show you what sound is being triggered. So in the debug mode, okay, as soon as we get close to a sound, okay, it will show you. Now that's a bit of a long name. All right, it will show you which sound is being triggered. Issa. So here, okay, it's showing me that's being triggered. It's drawing a link to it. Here there are two of them being played. Because it's being triggered. Okay. Issa, what happened here? It's being triggered, but it's not being triggered. If you notice here, there's that white line, and there's a circle on it here, all right, which goes away once I'm outside. That is what is called a sound barrier. A sound barrier. Basically, because when I chose to implement the sound, I chose for a circular area, because after all, sound emanates in all directions in a circular fashion. But some objects are not circular; they're rectangular. So I wanted a way for you to be able to limit the triggering of the sound. So I only want the sound to trigger when I am on the arcade machine, which is square. So what you can do, and what this person has done, is create these sound barriers, these red, which highlight to yellow when you're over them, these red lines, which block the sound from being triggered. So again, debug, you are within the range, but there's a sound barrier between you and the sound source. So it's not triggered. Once you are beyond the sound barrier, the sound is actually triggered. Okay? So if you have a room with walls and don't want the sound to be triggered when you are outside the room, you can build these sound barriers around it. Let me show you another example. So oh, by the way, there you are. Okay, I have saved you the agony of losing your work. Okay, if you close without saving, it will ask you, level 1 has unsaved changes. Do you want to save them? All right, and you can choose yes or no. not going to pick no for this one. In your case, you press yes. So I'm going to run again, this one, and I'm going to show you a safe one, which is the demo, which is something I did as an example. So I'm going to put in demo. Okay, and that loads. Ooh, this is different from what I thought. That's because I called mine my demo. There's, I think, someone. Oh, yes. A student chose to upload a folder called demo instead of SM, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, he lost a couple of marks for that. But yeah, I lived with that. So my demo was the one I wanted. What happened here? Let's check. I think system crashed. Let's release some memory. Can use that as well. Close the tab. Oh, great. The Explorer crashed. Nice. Let's go there back. So open file location, IDE. Okay, the application there. My demo. There you are. Okay. Yeah, I did. Okay. Is this the one I had? Yes, this was one. Okay, so I will open my demo instead. Because I did. All right, Mela, let me call this his demo and call this demo. Because all the stuff inside is working with demo, right? Demo LST, demo 1, demo 2. Okay, so let's run this and put in demo. The prefetch stage, where it's loading the stuff, okay? And this is my first level 1. And as you can see here, I'm using the sound barriers. Why? Well, because I wanted a dice sound. Okay, you can run this. Run this. There's a bit of a sound of dice being rolled. But I only wanted that to play when I am on the dice. Okay, not over here. But because of the circular range, okay, it had to be that wide. But then I added sound barriers in order to stop them from playing. So if you go to debug, you know, they're not being played outside here. But when you are inside, it's actually played. All right. Some other sounds I had in this one. I had the dice. I have the leather. Okay. I have the snake sound where the head is, and I have the cheer when you reach 100. So running this, you start with 1, going up, run, not debug, sorry, run. Okay, going up, 40, snake. Now, this Snakes and Ladders board game is bad. Okay, the head should be up here and the tail should be here, but yeah, you got that. And you got reach up here. Cheers, everyone. A different map, okay, more of a RPG style. And we have gravel sound, bridge sound, someone snoring, someone here, torch sound, cards playing, or darts, I think, some books. What else? So that people. Okay, let's go to edit. Yeah, so fire torch, snoring, the quill, the P is the prison. That sounds. Yeah, you're imprisoned. Okay, there you are. But it doesn't have to be a game. Okay, let me show you level 3. Level 3 is a map of the bar. Okay, and the background sound is not music. It's city sound, like cars running by and people, kids shouting or something. But then we have the police station, the playground, the church bells, the pizza being taken out of the oven. All right? So that's the edit mode. Being placed, putting in the range. Once you put them there, you can move them around. Okay? If you want to change the range, use shift to resize. Okay? So shift drag allows you to change the size of it. Sound barriers. I think that's the trickiest part, the sound barriers. So let's go back to level 1. And so to switch to sound barriers, how many sounds can the app play at the same time? I'd like you to test that. I mean, it will play as much as it can, but it's not guaranteed beyond 3 sounds, potentially, and hopefully not the same sound. I had some issues playing the same sound twice or 3 times simultaneously because the link to the file, the underlying system, I mean, I don't have control over it, the Java system, the link to the sound file is just one. So when you stop playing one, it also stops all others playing the same sound. So maybe have a copy paste of the sound if you want, and if you're going to have 2 sounds playing, the same sound playing twice at different levels, potentially best have a copy of the sound and have a separate label for that copy of the sound. But if it's different sounds, it's fine. If it's different sounds, it's fine. So, how did we create this one? Well, first of all, you switch to barriers by pressing B. Okay, so B switches to sound barriers. S switches back to sound sources. Okay, so barriers, sound sources, barriers, sound sources. So barriers shows me there are these 4. Okay, you can select them and delete. Okay. And so how do I create those sound barriers? So I am the sound barriers mode. And as soon as you start clicking and dragging, okay, you're building a sound barrier. All right. Okay, so I want to build a sound barrier from here to here. And now I want to build this one. Now, what's going to happen as soon as I click here? You're highlighting the other barrier. Okay, and if I click on it, it will take the first one. So it has 2 endpoints, the first endpoint and the second endpoint. You move the first endpoint by dragging with the left. You move the right endpoint using the shift, just like we had the range here. So shift drag will shift the left, the second endpoint. Normal drag will drag the left endpoint. So shift drag to put this into position. Yeah, so how do I draw the next one? Well, the trick is start from the other end. Okay, start from here and drag up to the first one. Okay, and you can reposition that a bit. So start from the other end and position it on top of the other one. And now, okay, and now start off. Okay, draw it from there to there. And then with it highlighted, just drag it into position. Okay, it's a bit quirky, but you can get around it. It can work. And so now, if I debug, it won't play unless I am inside it. And okay, notice as well. So over here, right, bottom right, it will tell you the gain. Gain is the loudness. Okay, so the farthest you are, the gain is of -26, and the closer you get, the gain is less. And the closer to 0, then it's loud. It's the actual loudness you have in the sound file. So farther away, it gets attenuated, okay, based on the distance. Okay, now, let's try something else. Let's go 3. Let's go edit. And I want to do the police one. Or the church bells. Well, I can do the church bells. Okay, so I'm gonna do. Oh, sorry. Calm down. I'm gonna do the church bells. There's actually another small chapel here, so I will do a small one like that. Okay, let's go for debug. Mela, so we have two instances of the church bells. Okay, one is for the big church, and one is for the small one here. What happened to the church? Oh, there you are. What happened to the church? Police station, Buntley. You forgot about this guy here? Yeah, in fact, it's 0, 0, 0, 0. That might be a bug I have discovered here. Interesting. Can I try it again, please? No, and no. No. Load it again. Demo. 3. There you are. Okay, and debug. Yeah, okay. So edit, and we want to put another church bell here. It's 2 now. Okay, run. All right. Mela, so we have two instances of church bells. Okay, we have this one here and this big one here. What effect does this large range have compared to this one here? It basically means that we will start hearing the bells earlier, okay, from farther away as opposed to this one. But the attenuation, so the lowering of the sound, happens over a larger area. So here it's like minus 30 up to 0. So it's loudest here, minus 30, so less volume here. Small range, it is also from minus 30 to 0. Okay, so the shift from soft to louder is more dramatic because it happens over a smaller range of time. Let's listen to that with D. Okay, so over here the border it's minus 30 something. It's minus 30. Okay, up to the 0, close to 0 something. Here again, it's minus 30 at the border, and it gradually grows as you approach the actual church. All right, so I'm just getting you to think how this might affect your design. I don't have any way of allowing you to change that as it is, except maybe let's take an approach. If we use sound barriers, and we create a kind of a barrier around the church like this, so you won't hear the bells within this region except until you are past the sound barrier. And by that time, how are you? This didn't work here. This works. This no. Funny. These all work. What's wrong with you? Edit. What's wrong with you? Let's make another one. Barriers. Yes. Here to there. Maybe it's because of the border. Let me do another one. Like that. And it works. And both of them work like that. So now you can hear it. Okay. So what if I move you down? Okay. And am I allowed to show you like this? Please. So the 30 will start still from the border of the circle of the range. Okay. Still of minus 21 there. And then it jumps into 15, 16 straight away. All right. So from the barrier, then it won't start from 30. Okay. 30 is from the edge of the circle. But then once you're in, oops, to be heard loudly in that fashion. So you could use a combination of sound barriers and the range in order to start off the sound louder as soon as you start. All right. But yeah, otherwise it's always from the. I mean, that's if you're finicky with this. I'm not asking you to do this, but I've had questions in previous years. How can I do that? How can I do that? So I'm preempting these questions. These questions like this. So yes, one thing I wanted to show you. No. So what happens if we don't have this LVL? All right. So let me show you again what happens when I load it with that. So demo level 1, and I have all the sounds placed and barriers, etc. Okay, for 1, for 2, and for 3. Now, if I go to demo 101 and I delete the LVL, okay, I won't delete it, I will rename it. Okay, but it will not be present, it will not find demo 1 LVL. And I launch this. Okay, it loads the image, it loads the sounds from the asset list file, but we've missed the placement of the objects. So I would need to place them. Okay, maybe the first dice and the second dice. See, a different approach to doing the dice sounds. The letter, one, oops, one, this I need to make reset that. Two there, the snakes, they should be here, that's when you fall, when you hit the space here. And the cheer for the 100. Alright. Then I want to press save. I will press V to save that. Okay, level save to disk. And if I check here in the demo folder, I will find the demo 1 LVL created. Okay, the other one is still here. Right? So that's how you create LVL. That's what I want to have to receive from you. Alright, so that now if I close this, and I load it again, and I press right in demo, it loads the level right with the 2 dice sounds here. Okay, to load it automatically there. Okay, so I remind you that this demo is also available in that shared folder. We have all these nice MKV files as demonstrations. I show you, they're not long, like 5 minutes each. That's why I cut them into pieces so you can have a break from my voice there. And I'm showing you, see it full screen, so you have a better one. Showing you the contents of them, the LST file contents. Yeah, I spent some time explaining this basically. That's one. There's how to run the demo, which is the demo I just showed you again. So you can, go through it on your own time and follow that as well. What I would like you to do by next lesson, which is in 2 weeks' time, right? Is first of all start the assignment, but also please make sure that you download this file and you try to run it. Okay, and let me know if you have any problems getting it to run. Okay, I plan to at least dedicate those 2 hours. We can get in touch individually, but if there are any common issues, I would rather trash them out in that session. After all, you will only need this for your last section. Okay, you'll only need this. Where do you go? Coursework. Coursework. Can go here. Yes. So you also have a documentation template. This I urge you to use it, because this one gives you like a template of where to put the stuff, where to answer what. Okay, so when you look at the specification, for example, and it tells you deliverables here, okay, in your typed report, so this should be stuff in the folder you go to upload and send me. But then there's also a report I won't expect from you. Okay, this is this Word file here. And it tells you, I want a short paragraph, 1.1, that refers to this one, describing the overall concept of your experience. What is the idea behind your environment in your digital experience? So I want a small paragraph here. 1.2, source statement for the overall mood of your game. That's the section here. Level 1, I'm doing this. Level 2, I'm doing this. Level 3, and level 5. So replace these with your descriptions. Then for each of the 5 levels, from sections 1.3 to 1.7, okay? So for each one, I want to have the original hand-drawn sketch. Maybe it's not hand-drawn. Maybe you did it on Photoshop or Paint or whatever. I actually gave you a photo I found. Okay, give me that photo you found, which has on it the labels. Okay, so I give you an example here. Okay, I want the labels on it. So if you gave me a photo, I want the labels on it. All right. Then underneath it, I want the clean version. If it was a hand-drawn, I want a digital sketch of it. Okay, a bit more nicer. Without the labels. This one should not have any labels on it. So if you gave me a photo with labels here, I want the photo without the labels here. All right? Because this one is what you are going to upload onto the ADE software. All right? So I want the sketch with the labels, the digital version without the labels here. And then for each one, a description for the level and how this specific level presents the mood and how it's implemented, and whether you put music for here, why did you choose the music, a link for the music that you have uploaded. If you don't want to put music, you put in enough chirping birds. Explain to me why you put chirping birds. If you want silence, no, I did not want to put background music. Explain to me why you don't want to put background music. You do that for all 5 levels. Then section 2 is where you copy and paste the asset list from the version 1, from coursework 1. And then tell me, out of those 8, 9, 20, 60 sounds I put, I'm going to implement these 6 sounds, these 8 sounds, these 300 sounds, whatever, right? It's 5 here, I want 6. Why do I have 5? I want 6. Well, just to make sure they read the question, the specification. Okay. Mela, so, not to take too much for your time this evening. You've heard me saying too long. And if you have questions, we will tackle them, thrash them, by the time you try them. So, what I was going to say is this. You only need the ADE in section D. In section D. So, when we're meeting on the 4th of May, okay, May the 4th be with you, you will still have 3 weeks, okay, so you should be able to afford to wait to solve your issues until May 4th, all right? And even if, everything works for you, still attend, please, because some others might have a problem which you will face eventually, potentially. And on that day, on May 4th, I will expect you to be sharing your screen. Okay, so you show me that it's running, and I can mark you as, okay, they actually managed to make it work. And you could show me your progress. I mean, you could show me issues you're having. Some of you will have lowercase or uppercase problem. Some of you will have a double extension problem. Yeah, these are ones I've had in the past, so will be quite used to solving those problems. And again, a hint there: if you look in your data folder, if you check your console.txt, this is not a problem, actually, right? But yeah, see, it's not finding these. That's fine. Just show me. It will help you find a problem if you look at the error message. The error message here. In fact, look, this said the demo 4 is missing and also demo 5. That's because my demo folder doesn't have maps 3 and 5. Okay, it only has 4 and 5. It only has 1, 2, 3. 4 and 5 are not there. It still worked, okay, but yeah, it complains. Tell me these were not found, so there won't be any fourth level. Yes, Floyd, if we play the game which has similar sounds to what we want to present, would we be allowed to record its sounds? Same question with certain images, for example. Are we allowed to use certain imagery from within other games? Okay. I'm fine with that. What I don't want is that you take a screenshot of a level, you take the sounds, and you put those sounds exactly where they are on the level. Right? So don't copy and paste the design. I want you to come up with your own design. But it's fine if the images are reused from somewhere else. Okay, I'm of course looking out for your audio design of the experience. Okay, Issa, you also have more help. More help. Ooh. These 3 samples. Okay, so these are actual assignments that students in the past have submitted. They are assignments that have got 90s as grades, so they're worth emulating. Not to give me the same example answer, right? But just for you to know what kind of stuff I was expecting and I was happy with. Okay, I've hidden their names, but yeah. So and you can see also my comments there. All right. Yeah, so this was a sketch, and this was the graphics they gave me for the digital version. I mean, nothing fancy, but there was a plan, and they executed that, and there's description of it. And then okay, you went for diegetic music because it has a radio in the room, and so they put music running there. This very basic level, and this was the level that we had. Starting level. This is the digital format. There for that. 5th. Then the asset file. They didn't justify why, so I asked why. Not description. I wanted justification, not a description. A report on that. Some photos. Yeah, we know who it is now. A photo of him recording the sound. But I have their permission to share this with you, so it's fine. Recording the bird sound. There you go. Sound libraries, okay, link to where they got downloaded from. Screenshots of Audacity before and after the editing. The implementation, then, okay, a screenshot of the level without placement, and then a screenshot, so all 5 of them, and then a screenshot of the sketch again, and how it was implemented with the placement on the actual level. Okay, so again, design and placement with the actual level. That's one, and there are a couple more samples that you can take a look at, so as to see what kind of expectation. This went for a more game-based, so hand sketch. This was a bit more artistry, the implementation of it. Level 2 with the church, level 3, and implementation there. And sample 3 was... this was different. This wasn't the game. This was a guy who went for a football match, and he wanted to model that. So he had recorded the sounds, not knowing he needed them for the assignment, of course, but he went to the stadium and he used this to kind of show the progression of the game, okay, and sounds of cheers and the band and the ball getting kicked and the referee whistling the goals, etc. It was interesting. I mean, I enjoyed a different take on the approach, a different take on that. So, yes, so 35 pages, 54 pages, 35 pages. But I gave you the Word document already, and that's on its own already, how much? 40 pages, so they went less. But of course, there's a lot of screenshots, right? There's a lot of screenshots being killed in there. So, yeah, that's 60 hours in this specification. That actually also includes the time you spent reading before. Okay, so you'll be compensated for that as well. But yeah, I tried to guide you as much as I can, not to so that have to waste time on formatting and what to place what. I mean, students in the past really enjoyed this, and I do and hope you also enjoy building this along. And I look forward to experiencing your old experiences. I have a hellish one coming towards me from Canada. I've already been advised. And I've seen already the start of yours, and they do sound promising. Yeah, so let's get in touch in 2 weeks' time. Make sure you try to run the ADE until then. So let's, make sure that you are able to run it, so you have less hiccups once you come to section D. Any further questions?
No, thank you.
Great.
Thank you. None from my end.
Thanks. Okay, so catch you in a couple of weeks then. And if you do come across any problems, don't leave it till the end, all right? I mean, I had students uploading. Couldn't run. I was available. Do get in touch if you have any problems. But if you don't, in 2 weeks' time, I will cause you to have problems by trying it out. Make sure you have downloaded by then.
All right.
Brilliant, thanks.
Okay, have a good night then. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.